Hello, I'm Chanel. This is Chanel Days, and today I'm doing the hashtag St. Paddy's Tarot. This is a VR to Cosmic Lunar Soul and a Life Full of Simplicity. I first saw it on Robin's Reflections. This is a St. Patrick's Day tarot tag. My great grandfather came from Ireland. I believe he was originally from Dublin, and he came over to Australia with his wife, who was from England. Even though my mother did try to teach me some Gaelic when I was a child, none of it stuck. It didn't stick. So I don't know much of it. And obviously my ties to the Irish heritage have waned ever since obviously he passed when I think I was around 8 years old. He passed away, but I still do remember him. He was a really, really lovely man. But my mother still very much celebrates St. Patrick's Day in honor of her heritage. So without much further ado, let's get into the prompts. So the first one is called End of the Rainbow. What deck did you have a hard time finding, tracking down? So for that, my choice is the Tarot of Aphrodite. So this was originally a Kickstarter deck. Unfortunately, they would not ship to Australia. So I thought maybe once the Kickstarter campaign was over, they would, but they still did not. So I thought, I'm never going to get this deck. But then my beautiful, gorgeous friend, Rochelle from Amethyst Ascension said, honey, if you want the deck, I can buy it, get it shipped to me, and then ship it to you, and you can just pay me back. And I was like, are you sure? Because that's a lot of effort. No one likes going to the post office to have to post stuff. It's not a fun time. But she did it, and I got it. And I really didn't think I was going to. So I was so thankful to her for allowing this to happen and to be able to have such a beautiful deck in my hands that I didn't think I would otherwise have. The next prompt is Pot of Gold. When you found that deck, was it worth the quest? Now, originally, yes, absolutely. And it wasn't really much effort on my part. It was all on Rochelle's part. So was it worth it for her? I don't know. I'm going to guess that she'll say yes, because she's a beautiful person who probably would do anything for a friend. And likewise, however, the creator released a second version of this deck only a couple of months after, and the second version has a proper guidebook. So you can see this is what comes with this. It's only the title of the artwork. There is nothing else. The new version, however, has a fully fleshed out guidebook, and you know I'm a sucker for good guidebooks, and so I was pretty devastated. She also sort of minimized the borders a bit more, changed up some of the artwork, and overall I actually prefer the second edition. Am I going to purchase a second edition? No. This is fine. I'm just a little bit salty that the second edition was released so soon after the first. And honestly, I feel like maybe the creator could have just waited a bit and actually released the second version as the proper version. I don't understand why this one didn't have a guidebook, and then they've decided a few months later, oh, here's a guidebook and let's change some things. It was a bit confusing. And yes, it was a bit annoying. It was so soon after as well. So part of me had been like, oh man, if only I hadn't said anything, I could have got the second one, but I don't want it now. I'm not interested in buying this deck twice. So was this deck worth getting? I don't know. But if this had been the only version of the Tarot of Aphrodite, then yes, it was worth me saying out loud, I really wish I could have this deck, and then allowing my friend to do something so generous and sweet in sourcing it and getting it to me. Like, honestly, I really have people like go out of their way like that I've never even met in person. I've never met her in person, but I love her and I am so thankful for her all the time. So this was my choice for the first two prompts. The next question is, what's your favorite snack when doing readings? Shamrock Shake. I don't eat while I do readings. I'm too busy doing the readings. I do normally have a beverage on hand though. So if it's not water, that's my favorite beverage of choice. Nothing quenches my thirst like water. It's a cup of tea, babes. Most likely, if it's very early in the morning, it'll be a milky tea. It'll be an Earl Grey or a Melbourne breakfast or something of that vein, something I can add milk to. Otherwise, in afternoon or evening, it'll be a herbal, and my favorite herbal is chamomile, especially chamomile with honey. Just hits a spot. The next prompt is Leprechaun. Do you own a rare out-of-print deck? If not, which one would you get if you could? So I'm going to answer both of those. So I do have a kind of rare deck, and that's just because it goes in and out of stock. And that is this deck here. Normally these are stars, which is stunning, but if it's not in order, you can't see them. This is the Heartscape Tarot. So I saw this on TarotTube and fell in love and was like, I have to have it. And then was devastated to see that it was unavailable. So normally this is sold through Tavada, which is a website, and their decks sometimes do go out of stock or out of print. And this had been out of print for quite a long time when I saw it on TarotTube. So I thought it's probably not going to come back. But because they hadn't removed the listing for it, I thought, you know what, Chanel, just ask to be put on a notification email list if it does ever come back into stock. And it did. Very, very bloody briefly. I was very lucky that the second I got notified, I hopped right on and purchased it. Are these all this way? Nope. And I managed to get a copy. I know it's already sold out once again. So this is one of those decks where I think it might come back on briefly with a certain limited number of decks and then off it goes again. But it's not one that I would go and purchase at an exorbitant price secondhand for. I'd say put yourself on a notification list and hope for the best. But I am so bloody happy, so happy I got it. It is one of my favorite decks. I just find it so breathtakingly beautiful. I love the simplicity of it. It's got both the magic and the mundane in it. And honestly, there's like very few. I think there's only 2 cards I don't really care for. But every single card otherwise just does something. It just makes me happy. So even though it's a landscape deck too, which not a huge fan of the landscape, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of cats in this deck too, so naturally I love it. But otherwise, yes, it's one of my favorites. So in terms of the other question, what one would you get if you could? There's quite a few I like. And I would say if I could only pick one, probably the Invisible Light Tarot out of all the ones that are out of print that I really want. If I had to pick one, that would be the one. So I'll put a little picture up here, but it's a photographic deck and I just really like it. And the Emperor card is super hot, so I am shallow in that way. I will buy a deck for some eye candy, but this was my response to the Leprechaun prompt. And then we have Fourleaf Clover, a deck you thought would be just another deck, but turned out to be something great. So for that, mine's actually a mass market deck, which I really thought not much of, and it's the Herbal Astrology deck. So these are the backs, which I think are really, really beautiful. I love them. I edged mine in a sort of wine mauve because it's got a lot of those rich, warm hues in it. And I just thought this was just going to be another sort of plant deck. I know there's an astrology element, but I don't really pay much attention to the astrology element in this particular one. It's still very much the energy of the plants that are depicted. But yeah, I didn't think anything of it. Like I do like the illustration style. I'm not in love with it, but I think it's very pleasant. However, man, when I read with this, the meanings in this guidebook hit so hard. And I could not put the deck down. I just kept wanting to do card pull after card pull after card pull. And I was absolutely amazed. It's just one of those decks where sometimes you just do a reading and you get goosebumps on your skin and you feel it click with your spirit. And you feel like it's spoken right to the core of you. And it's told you some truth that maybe, you know, you weren't aware of or that you were putting aside or ignoring, and it's just brought it to the light. But I just found it really powerful, really, really powerful. And I was absolutely amazed at how much I resonated with this deck. It was incredibly surprising and I love it. And for a mass market deck too, bloody amazing. So this is definitely one I don't pull out all the time because I do find like I have to be in that right frame of mind to really hear the message and sit with it. But I love it. But yeah, that first day, I think I used it for hours and I normally never do that. But I was like trying to do every kind of spread that I could so I could keep getting more messages because it just spoke so clearly to me. And I thought, okay, I'm receiving the messages really easily right now. So let's keep going. Let's bring up all these things that maybe I haven't gotten answers to and let's do this. So this, yeah, was absolutely surprising and turned out to be a really great deck. And that was my response for the Fourleaf Clover prompt. All right, so the next prompt is Irish Whiskey, a deck that's always a party or celebration. Fun fact, Irish Bailey's Cream is my favorite all-time liqueur. I don't really drink alcohol at all anymore, but if I have to, I'll just get a Bailey's on the rocks with some milk. I know it's a very basic bitch drink, but I really like it, man. So this is Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle. And the themes and focus of this area, as you can see, are abundance, creativity, love, lust, passion, pleasure, sensuality, sex, union, all the juicy goodies in life. This one has the gold on the back and the gold on the side. So they're all really well themed, and it's on the glossy cardstock, which I don't like, but it was the choice that they made. Why do I think this is like a sort of party deck and a celebration? Because it is, and it focuses on the pleasures of life, the sensuality of life. I think that's the biggest plus side to being a human on earth is our five senses. We get to indulge in this very hedonistic quality in that we can touch, taste, see, smell, and hear all of this beautiful melody and feast and cornucopia that earth has to offer. As someone who's like had spiritual experiences with being here and also back in the universal consciousness, God, whatever state that you want, whilst that is one of an all-encompassing love and warmth and joy, it's limited in terms of the five senses. There's not a five senses aspect there. So that is the beauty of this earthly plane. And this deck really epitomizes that for me. It really helps me to be more embodied and to enjoy the simple things in life. But because of its saucy side and its sexy side, that's like where the party aspect comes in for me. I love that. I'm someone who's very in touch with their sexuality, but this deck in general just has such a party vibe. It's just go dancing around the maypole, you know, and really be embodied and really indulge in all of your senses and all of your desires and all of your dreams, and stand in your power and taste the honey, taste the sweetness of this world. So that is why I have chosen it. Like, you've got cards called Orgasm. Need I say more? Is there anything more celebratory than a juicy orgasm, you know, than a culmination of your efforts? So this is my choice for the Always a Party or Celebration deck. Okay, so the last one is Rich Heritage. What deck in your collection has so much depth to it, whether with the art, guidebook, or the readings? So for that one, I have chosen the Primordialis Great Mother Oracle. This was a Kickstarter deck. The cards have a beautiful rose petal finish with spot gloss on them as well. It's a limited color palette, but once again, it's got the spot gloss, so it's got this beautiful tactile element to it where you can actually feel the card. And it's simple, but it does pack a bit of a punch for me. It is very effective in its simplicity and in its chosen color palette. So you'll have the name of the card and then the keyword with it. I'll just show you the guidebook, because this deck really, I think, shines with the write-ups. It is what I call a medicine deck for me. It is something that I tend to use just on its own, and I really delve deep into the guidebook and I see what resonates, what sticks, what maybe brings things to the surface that I wasn't previously aware of. But the theme of the book is the Great Mother, so the energy from which we all came, and that sort of primordial energy. So it's meaty and it's full on. So we've got beautiful spreads to the mother place, the altar, the Trinity that are very on theme, the thresholds that I highly recommend. But look how much you've got here. It's very generous, and they all end in with a reflection too. But the write-ups are just fantastic. They always seem to resonate for me, and they always just feel like a moment of absolute enlightenment. You know, when you find something and something just shifts in your brain, and you know that you've learned something new and vital and beneficial to your existence. And that is what this deck is like for me. And it's just such beautiful quality too. So there's depth in terms of the illustrations, in terms of the actual subject matter. It's a very deep subject matter, and the write-up. So the cards, the write-up, and the readings all have depth. It's not a deck I take out regularly. It's more when I need to do some work on myself or some healing as well, depending on the wound in question. But I'm really thankful that I took, look at, it's very powerful, like the imagery in this. It's can be, I guess, maybe confronting to some, but I love it. And I think all deep decks are confronting in some way. But these were my choices for the St. Patrick's Day tarot tag. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.